Pope Francis has died, and now the Vatican is in a race against time. Behind the closed doors of the Sistine Chapel, centuries-old rituals snap into motion. There's no room for error, because if the timing is off, even by hours, things can spiral into chaos. From the solemn confirmation of the Pope's death to the destruction of personal papal ring, the orchestration of public mourning ceremonies, and the convening of the College of Cardinals for the conclave to elect a new Pope. These actions ensure that the Church pays due respect to the departed Pope, while upholding the sanctity and stability of its spiritual governance. In this video, we uncover the 7 most remarkable things that happen when the Pope dies, and why each one matters more than you think. Step 1. Verification of death. Before the mourning begins, the Vatican must be absolutely certain. Is the Pope truly dead? In the ancient corridors of the Apostolic Palace, this confirmation is more than a medical formality. It is a sacred ritual. The man responsible, the Camerlengo, currently Cardinal Kevin Farrell, he temporarily assumes command of the Vatican, overseeing both its spiritual and administrative duties during the interregnum. He performs what is historically known as the Silver Hammer Protocol. In the past, this meant gently tapping the deceased pope on the head with a small silver hammer while calling out his baptismal name 3 times. If the pope didn't respond, the death was confirmed. It sounds dramatic, but in an institution built on symbolism, the gesture spoke volumes. Today, the ritual has evolved. The hammer no longer touches the pontiff's head. Instead, Cardinal Farrell stood solemnly in Pope Francis's private chapel and repeated, "Jorge, are you dead? Jorge, are you dead? Jorge, are you dead?" When no response came, he declared with finality, "I declare that His Holiness Pope Francis is truly dead." For additional confirmation, a medical team may now use an electrocardiogram, just as they did for John Paul II in 2005. Only once the death is verified does the Vatican move forward. Every moment from here is carefully timed, and history begins to unfold. Step 2. Securing Vatican property. With the Pope confirmed dead, the next priority is not mourning, but security. The Vatican moves quickly to protect not just the Holy Father's remains, but everything he owned in his official capacity. The Camerlengo and his team seal the Apostolic Palace, locking away private quarters and sensitive materials. But some items don't get stored. They're destroyed. Chief among them is the Fisherman's Ring, the Pope's official signet, used to seal important Vatican documents. No Pope keeps the same ring. Each has his own, designed uniquely to reflect his role as the successor of St. Peter, the original fisherman. And when a pope dies, that ring must be obliterated. For centuries, the same silver hammer used in the death ritual was brought back, this time to smash the ring into fragments, making sure no one could ever use it to forge papal decrees. That tradition changed slightly with Pope Benedict XVI, who resigned in 2013. His ring wasn't smashed, but cut into the shape of a cross, symbolic, yet still irreversible. Cardinal Farrell, following the protocol, destroyed Pope Francis's ring in the presence of other high-ranking clergy. Witnesses are crucial. Without them, forged papal documents could circulate under false authority. The lead seal of the papacy is also destroyed. Other items are handled with care, donated, archived, or in rare cases, given to papal heirs. But the symbols of power, they must be erased. Because until a new pope is elected, no one can speak with the authority of Peter. Step 3. Mourning protocol. Once the symbols of papal power are secured, the focus turns to reverence. The mourning period begins, but as with everything in the Vatican, it begins by tradition, not improvisation. The Pope's body is carefully prepared. In most cases, this means embalming, a custom dating back centuries. Take John XXIII, for example. He was embalmed using formalin, and when his body was exhumed in 2001, it was so well preserved that many said he looked like he had died only yesterday. But embalming is not a requirement. John Paul II chose not to be embalmed, his humility extending even into death. And Pope Francis? That choice depends on the instructions he left behind. Regardless of that decision, one thing is certain: the Swiss guards will never leave his side. For over 500 years, since 1506, these elite soldiers have stood between danger and the papacy. That duty doesn't end when the Pope passes away. They accompany his body on its final journey, from the Apostolic Palace to St. Peter's Basilica. The transition is slow, ceremonial, and heavily guarded. The Pope's body is placed in a modest wooden coffin, a recent change Francis himself ordered, preferring simplicity over the three traditional coffins of cypress, lead, and oak. Once in St. Peter's, the body lies in state, on display for 3 days, allowing the faithful to say goodbye. The guards remain at full attention, armored and armed, honoring the Pope in death with the same devotion they offered him in life. Step 4. Burial plans. The Pope's final resting place is more than a location. It's a statement. Traditionally, popes are buried beneath St. Peter's Basilica in a vast underground necropolis known as the Vatican Grottos. It's a sacred space where saints, martyrs, and pontiffs rest, layered in centuries of silence. But Pope Francis broke from tradition. In December 2023, he quietly announced that he would not be buried beneath St. Peter's, like many of his predecessors. Instead, he chose the Basilica of St. Mary Major, one of the 4 major papal basilicas in Rome, and one of the 7 official pilgrimage churches. It wasn't a random choice. During his pontificate, Francis visited the basilica over 100 times. He would often stop there to pray before and after international trips. It was personal, meaningful, his spiritual home within a city of churches. He's not the first pope to be buried there. In fact, 6 popes rest within its walls: Honorius III, Nicholas IV, Pius V, Sixtus V, Clement VIII, and Clement IX. But here's the twist. No pope has chosen it since 1669, when Clement IX was laid to rest. Until now, Francis's choice is retro, really retro, and yet perfectly in line with his papacy, humble, untraditional, and deeply symbolic. Step 5. Surveillance and protection. Even in death, the Pope is never left unguarded. While the Swiss guards stand as the Vatican's most visible shield, another layer of protection operates quietly behind the scenes. A modern security force unlike any in church history. The Vatican may run on centuries-old tradition, but its security is decidedly 21st century. After the Pope's body is transferred to St. Peter's Basilica, surveillance systems activate across the Apostolic Palace. Cameras, motion sensors, biometric locks, all working to ensure the sanctity of the Holy Father's quarters and the security of his remains. Why such high alert? Because even a single unauthorized document, relic, or recording leaving the Vatican could spark global controversy. The Church isn't just preserving a body, it's preserving its authority, and it doesn't stop with cameras. During the conclave that follows, the Vatican goes further. Faraday cages are installed to block electromagnetic signals. Signal jammers are rolled into the Sistine Chapel. Even drones are preemptively jammed. It might seem extreme, but it works. In a world driven by information, the Vatican understands that secrecy is sacred. In blending the old with the new, Swiss pikes with silent sensors, the Church ensures that even during its most vulnerable moment, nothing is left to chance. Step 6. Conclave. Preparation. The delay before the conclave often serves as a moment of anticipation, allowing the cardinals time to gather and making room for a sense of suspense. Historically, this pause has sparked significant pressure, with tales like that of Viterbo, where villagers tore the roof off a building to force the cardinals to make their decision. This illustrates the intensity of the waiting period and the urgency surrounding the election process. To maintain confidentiality, the Vatican takes extreme security measures. Faraday cages block electromagnetic signals. Signal jammers prevent external communication, and the cardinals are isolated to ensure they remain free from outside influence. These methods serve to preserve the sanctity of the election and protect the process from interference, blending centuries-old traditions with modern technology. And finally, Step 7. Election of the new Pope. Once the conclave begins, the process of selecting a new pope unfolds through secret ballots, requiring a 2/3 majority for a candidate to be elected. If no decision is reached, black smoke signals that the vote has failed and the process continues. When a pope is elected, white smoke rises from the Sistine Chapel, announcing to the world that the decision has been made. This leads to the momentous ritual of Habemus Papam. We have a pope, signaling the end of the conclave. The newly elected pope then makes his first public appearance on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, marking the beginning of his papacy and connecting the Church's ancient traditions with the world's eager anticipation. So, what do you think? Will the next pope lean towards modesty in his approach, focusing on humility and simplicity, or will he uphold the centuries-old traditions that have defined the papacy?